Paranoia, what it is and how it can be addressed in psychotherapy. The classic understanding of paranoia is that it's based on projection. All of us as human beings have aggression in us, and that aggression can frighten us. So we may, to some degree, deny and disown our aggression, and then we still feel it, but we don't realize that it's ours, and we experience it as if it's coming from the outside, right? So I've seen three things be helpful in psychotherapy when someone is experiencing paranoia, how that can be addressed. Number one is a simple little technique, maybe most useful in mild cases of paranoia. If we sense we may be experiencing paranoia, we can ask the question, is it possible I am experiencing this thing that I am feeling is coming from the outside? So in other words, if I'm in an environment and I feel like no one likes me here, everyone dislikes me here, is it possible I dislike these other people, right? Or whatever it may be. Now, sometimes that will do it. That will cure the paranoia. We realize, if it is in fact the case, oh yeah, I don't like these people. That's mine. We re-own that aggression, and then we have a more realistic sense of the situation. Now, it may be that that we might not be the other's favorite person either. There's an old saying, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean someone isn't after you, right? But when there is paranoia, it amplifies the sense of persecution. And so by re-owning whatever is your own part of that, it allows you to see the situation more objectively. So that's a simple technique. Now, another thing that I've seen with clients who have a decent amount of paranoia is they seem to tend to really like and benefit from jujitsu. Jiu-jitsu, okay? Now, I've done a few jiu-jitsu classes. It's not really my thing. I liked it okay, but I don't love it. But clients who have a lot of paranoia, in my experience at least, seem to really like it. They like the jiu-jitsu. So that's obviously, it's a big undertaking to learn jiu-jitsu. But I have seen clients who have a decent amount of paranoia, like I say, quite like that and find it quite beneficial. So sometimes when I have a client who has a lot of paranoia, I'll indicate that to them. And I've seen them go and try that out, and generally they really like it. I think that it's there's a lot of differentiation on a physical level in jiu-jitsu, and so it seems to be a good fit. Now, the third thing that I've seen be helpful with paranoia, and this might sound self-serving, but it is just the case, steady, devoted therapy over a period of a decent amount of time. Now, I'm a therapy minimalist, but when it comes to decent amounts of paranoia, real devoted therapy, I have seen it to be very transformative. Paranoia can manifest as like, I have difficulty trusting people, right? And for that reason, clients who have a decent amount of paranoia, typically in my experience, they don't enjoy therapy. A lot of people like what therapy feels like, right? They're being listened to, they're being empathized with. It's a nice feeling. But some people, it's not pleasant. And so as clients who have a decent amount of paranoia, therapy is very unpleasant. So they typically try to do as little of it as possible. But I have seen that clients who kind of like devote themselves to the therapy, they do it maybe weekly for a decent amount of time and are just devoted to it. And they see it not as something that's likely to be pleasant, but as something that is likely to be unpleasant, and it's a kind of work that they devote themselves to. So it's as if it was sort of like personal training for the emotions. And that then allows them to work through a lot of these trust issues. If you have a decent therapist who can just really be steady and always kind and may make mistakes from time to time, which can really tweak its client who has a decent amount of paranoia. But if the therapist is steady and can engage in repair processes there, it can really be helpful for its client who has a decent amount of paranoia that they're coming in with initially. Okay. So now I want to just take a look at our little graph that I presented in my video about symptoms. We're going to always go back to this and see where the paranoia falls on that graph. You can see how it relates to the other symptoms. And so what you'll see is it's kind of near the bottom. It's closer to the bottom than the top. And what that is to say is that paranoia is an issue at a kind of more physical layer of the psyche, right? And it's also on the left there, so the more sort of receptive type disposition. And so it's a client who has a decent amount of paranoia. One of the things they often do need to learn is appropriate self-assertiveness, right? They need to learn to, to put stuff out there, okay? And then we'll look at the strength associated there. It's smarts. It's paranoia. Someone who has a decent amount of paranoia tends to have a lot of smarts, right? And that's the strength there, right? And so that can always be put to good use in some way. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this video about paranoia, found it useful. I'll be back with more soon, and thanks for listening.